guys, it's Miss May, and we're going to talk about comparing place values some more, and we're going to add in a word called exponential form. Okay, so let's review. We talked about the standard form, so let's just do what is 8 times 1? 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 10, well, I have 1 0, so I'm going to put that 0 down, cross out that 0 there. 8 times 1 is 8. Now I have 2 zeros, so that means I have 2 zeros because I'm multiplying by the 100. So I put my 2 zeros down. So then I have 8 times 1, which is 8. So 8 times 100 is 800. So that means 8 times 1,000 is 8,000. And 8 times 10,000, how many zeros do I have? I have 4 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 8 times 1 is 8. So I have 80,000. And then 8 times 100,000, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 800,000. And then 8 times a million is 8 million. Remember, when you're multiplying by zeros, all you have to do is add those zeros at the end and multiply like 8 times 1 and then add 3 zeros. Okay, so this is standard form. Remember, standard form is just that written form with the digits. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about the exponential form. Okay, so exponential form is 8 times 10 to the 0. Now, an exponential, let's talk about that for a minute. You have 10 is going to be called your base, and 0 is going to be called your exponent. Okay, so the little number at the top right is called an exponent. Okay, the exponent tells the base what to do. It's the boss. Okay, so we're going to skip the first one for a second because there's a special rule about that. But here we have 10 to the first power. So that means I have 110. So this is going to be 8 times 10 because I have 110, so that's going to be 80. So if you notice over here, in standard form, I just wrote out 110. In exponential form, I put a 1. Also, in the base 10, because we're dealing with base 10, the trick is whatever the exponent is how many zeros you have. So on the next one, we have a 2 as our exponent. So that means I have 2 tens, so 8 times 10 times 10. Well, how many zeros do I have? I have 2 zeros, and I have an 8, so I really have 800, okay? And then this exponent is a 3, so that means I have 3 tens, so I have 3 zeros. So I have 1, 2, 3, and then I put an 8, so that's 8,000. So this is 10 to the 4th. So how many zeros do I have? That's correct. I have 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we just do our trick. 8 times 1, which is 8. So it's 80,000. So again, look at the 1 to the right in the standard form. How many zeros do I have there? I have 4 zeros. So what I'm doing is this is just kind of a shorter version of what standard form looks like. So exponential form is going to have the exponent that tells you how many zeros you have. So here we have a 5. So how many zeros do I have? I have 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I get my 8 times 1, which is 8. Don't forget your comma. So that's 800,000. So again, look over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 8 times 100,000 is 800,000. And 8 times 10 to the 5th is also 800,000. So why don't you try the next one? Maybe turn the video off and try it. Okay, welcome back. So how many zeros did you put? That's correct. You put 6 zeros. Why did you put 6 zeros? Because the exponent is 6. That is correct. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I have my 8 times 1, which is 8. So I have 8 million. So 8 times 10 to the 6 is 8 million. Just like 8 times 1 million is 8 million. Okay? So let's review these, and then we'll go over this special one right here. So like this one, so 10 to the 6, that means I have 10 times 10 times 10 times, let's move it over a little bit, times 10 times 10 times 10. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. So 10 to the 6 means I have 6 10s that I'm multiplying together, okay? And then we do our zero rule. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I have 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. So 10 to the 6 is 1 million. Okay? Now, this special one, this is very, very special. So listen up. Anything, I mean anything to the 0 power is going to be 1. Okay? So 10 to the 0 power is 1. Okay? So that means that this is just 8 times 1, which is 8. And that, because 10 to the 0 power, remember the exponent tells you how many zeros you have. So how many zeros do I have if it says 0? I have 0 zeros. So the only number I can put is 1. Okay? So let's look at some questions here that go along with this. When you're multiplying by the powers of 10, your blank will have the blank amount of zeros as the power of 10. Okay, so when you're multiplying by the powers of 10, your product, which means what? That's right, means the answer to a multiplication problem. Remember, we're going to use vocabulary a lot. We'll have the same amount of zeros as the power of 10. So remember, the power here is 0. How many zeros do I have? None. So it's 8 times 1. Okay, so 10 to the power of 1. How many zeros do I have? I have 1 0. So it's 8 times 10. So think about this. When you're multiplying by the powers of 10, your product will have the same amount of zeros as your power of 10. Okay? Now, if your power of 10 is written in exponential form, your product will have the same amount of zeros as your exponent. Okay, so this is just another way of saying what we did up here, okay? So just think about that. In the next video, we're going to do some example problems. So I'll see you in a bit.